Would you all please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Adam, we'll scoot you in early, and then ladies, we'll get you on that lead scoot.
Alright, morning all. So we've got the numbers in front of you, 198 total 911s for May. Our MIHs were pretty active this month too, 143 of those. End of May, beginning, or pretty much throughout the summer, EMS is kind of taking those back over because they've got a medic out. So our MIH guy is transitioning back into EMS for the summer, so now EMS is picking those back up. So you'll see the crews out and about doing a lot of those. We had several transports to Carl this month that kind of extended some of our times out, so nothing out of spec, but that's why some of those numbers are extended a little bit. So the 38.05 back in service time, it takes an hour and 10 to get back from Champaign, so it kind of prolongs some of those averages out. Everything else, our PR events are slowly kicking up. Over the summer we'll be really hot and heavy doing PRs. We got the fair coming up, planning is in full swing for that. I'll be putting on an extra truck pretty much all but one night for the fair. Several nights we'll have a truck dedicated out there. Second page is our hospital transport, or which hospital we went to. So again, nothing too out of the ordinary. We did go to Carl a few more times this month on average, but that's just an anomaly. I can't really explain that. We've been going to Marshall a little more. Apparently they're having some staffing issues down there, so we've provided some backup for them a few times this month. And sometimes when Christmas gets busy, we send a truck up that area. Jeremy said he's on his way. He got busy this morning, but I think will be here shortly. Questions, comments, concerns for me?
I saw on the Facebook page that COVID cases are up.
They are.
Are you guys so used to dealing with that it's your standard procedures are working okay?
Yeah, so right now, anything that sounds like it could be COVID, the crews are gonna wear their N95s. If it's known COVID, obviously they will. Kind of depends on the call. Obviously, some calls aren't gonna sound like it could be COVID, and they're gonna walk into it not knowing, but the crews are fully equipped. We have all equipment on board that we need, so there may be a time where they might take a couple extra seconds when they get on scene to put on extra PPE, but we're going on 2 years of this, so we're pretty used to that by now.
Other questions?
Did I see where Marshall's talking about hiring full-time people or something?
So Clark County, so there's Clark County ambulance and there's Marshall ambulance.
Right.
Yeah, they've been talking about that for quite some time now. I think their board finally approved it, but how that's gonna look, I couldn't tell you. I know Marshall has had some staffing issues, and there's been a couple days where they haven't even had one truck on, let alone two, so.
Hopefully they can get that, and that'll help you having to go down there and maybe they'd be available if you ever got in line.
So right now our mutual aid agreement stands as if we get busy, then Crispin is our backup, followed by Kansas. We actually had the call out for Million here a few weeks ago, the UTV rollover. Came out as 3 patients, so I sent all 3 trucks plus myself. I went out there. We actually I called Jeremy down to stage at Malfunction Junction, and we actually did end up having another call at that point, so they actually came down and picked up a call. Just happened to be across the road from the hospital, nothing major, but it worked out well. So.
Thank you, Adam.
Well,
Did you want to introduce?
Yes, I am really glad to have Amanda Meyer and Stacy Bertolini here to talk about the summer nutrition program, and you'll notice that we did add it to the Wednesday agenda in case we need to authorize expenditure for the program. And did you hand it out to everybody, Augie?
Yeah.
You got 2 pages of information that Amanda had forwarded to me, so that was easiest if we just included it so everybody could have it. It has to do with the program. One's the email about bus service pickup, and the other is the data menu. So you might want to pull those out. Okay, thanks.
Yes, indeed, the menu is nothing like Andrew's. However, it is, compliant to ISBE requirements. We are again thrilled that we can do this year. Your guys' support has been amazing. We did have some hiccups in the beginning, as you noted. We were going to start May 31st, May 31st. However, due to some other things that happened with the kids, it starts today. So we'll see how today goes. But currently you have like 10, 20 signed up?
22 as of last night.
22 at Hopes and Dreams signed up. And then the rec, obviously, their program is like about 80, 84, depending on how many people actually do partake in that program. We're hopeful to see that Hopes and Dreams, that might, hopefully it will increase. But currently with that, as you can see, the bus service that Michelle has communicated with Stacy, and she said it was about $100 a day. It looks like it's going to be about 40 days, so that would be about $4,000 for the summer. I do know, have you written for the grant for the $5,000? Did that?
Just not.
Okay, right. So there is a grant. It's from, think of what the name of it is. It's Hungry Kids or No Kid Hungry, and it is a $5,000 grant. So hopefully they can receive that funding and therefore not utilize that funding. However, it's not a guarantee. So if we could possibly have that funding available, that'd be great. The other thing is paper products. So we're looking at plates and silverware, and possibly the cost of that being around $2,200. So it looked like, and then if mileage, I was just kind of figuring some mileage from the kids traveling from there and back to Track Shack, on the Tracks Cafe. I was figuring at about 5 miles a day. I don't know where my Excel, and then I had 3 kids, 5 miles a day, 40, so it came out to be about $400 for mileage.
Are these kids that are actually getting meals and we're paying their mileage to come?
No, these are the worker kids.
Okay,
These
that's what
are
I wanted to
the,
know.
these are the worker kids. I will tell you, we are still utilizing the kids in the organization. I don't know if you remember me explaining it last time, but the kids, even though they're in the Edgar County program, since we were facilitating it with Douglas, our WIOA is in Champaign. The Edgar County WIOA is in Charleston, Mattoon. And I know Stacy has been in contact with Tabitha and trying to get, because once we pass it off, we're not going to be able to have Champagne. It's going to have to be that. And I know that I don't think
There's just been a series of roadblocks. Like the students have had jobs previously that they don't want them to work through the WIOA program because it's for students who have never worked. And so everything, she came to the high school and presented to both our juniors and seniors. So then I had the students fill out the applications, we returned them, and with all but one, she had an excuse as to why the student wasn't eligible for the program. So I'm not really sure the purpose of the program. So that's on my list of things to check into better for my.
I'm sure certain that applies to certain populations in the state.
Absolutely.
But as with the rest of the program,
Right.
It was designed for inner city,
Mm-hmm.
not
Not
for,
for rural.
yes.
And to think that a kid's penalized because they have sought job opportunities and they have worked. Yeah, absolutely. So that's something I'll keep working on, and I've just gotta figure out who's above Tabitha to climb that ladder.
it's the CFS and I thought you had a contact there. But other than that, I think there are going to be 5 kids that will be paid through that program, and they'll be working and helping at Hopes and Dreams and Rec and delivering and helping prepare food. Yeah, it would just be the bus service, and like I said, hopefully we will receive that grant, and then we can do that. But I guess my other question was too, again, I would like to keep Douglas County out at health department out as much as I can, but if not, that's perfectly fine. I didn't know if you did approve the funding, if that was something that you, like the county, would pay the bus service? Like it would be direct reimbursements for those things? Would it be to Hopes and Dreams? Again, I haven't talked to Stacy and Beth about this, but instead of, I just didn't know what your thoughts were, if that would be
What type
something.
of organization? What are you classifying?
We're a nonprofit.
Are you a 501?
Yeah, 501c3, yes.
Makes it a whole lot easier for us to do it that way instead of passing it through.
That's what I was like, yeah.
So
I
you're
would-
looking for us to authorize up to 4,000 for transportation?
Yes, sir.
If you don't get the grant, you can always fall back on us. Then you want 2,200 for,
I just happened to look up on
Forks, spoons,
plates,
plates.
silverware,
so we
I,
could do a reimbursable up to 2,200 on that, and then 400 for mileage. So you basically asking us for, unless there's something else, 6,600 for a maximum reimbursement.
Yes, sir.
With you billing us, and that would be direct.
Okay, and that's for the Paris program, and I know you're doing Kansas. And
okay. So Shiloh is, yes, the Douglas County Health Department is
Right.
doing like the Shiloh area. We
And
have reached,
Kansas,
we have reached out to Kansas, we
Okay.
have reached out to Kansas, we have reached out to Kansas. We have not been able to get the cooperation, get any information, get any help with that. As far, I would assume Hopes and Dreams, I would assume, On the Tracks Cafe, I mean, it would be an additional mileage, but they could definitely take, because I do know there's a need there. I just, as far as Douglas County, when we reached out, do you have individuals there to help be supervisors? Do you have, a time? And it was just, we did
Okay.
not get the
but you
cooperation.
are doing Shiloh,
Yeah.
And Douglas County is funding that?
Mhm.
so that
Well,
was,
Shiloh, we're funding Shiloh because it's, most of them
Newman.
are Newman kids.
Right.
Okay.
So our
Yeah.
site will be in Newman, but
Okay, all right.
Okay.
if Shiloh
All right,
kids
got it.
need it.
I didn't know what
Yeah.
our responsibility was there.
No,
All right.
it's mostly Newman. And-
Okay.
And Hopes and Dreams we are working on the paperwork to be able to take this over from Douglas County. We are not really their responsibility, and I'm not really sure where that miscommunication is. But we found that the paperwork was pretty in-depth, and we are still waiting on a particular unique identified number
Same.
from the government, and the same number, and they're very far behind to do that. Our goal was to take it over. We didn't get there, so Amanda has been gracious enough to help limp us through this year, and then by next year, we'll take it over.
So you're running into bureaucracy, or are you just, what are you running
We're,
into?
we're the same number that you required from the
Right, no,
government.
I'm aware.
And until we get that, I requested it on April 6th, and they tell you it's still pending. So we can't apply for the grants and go through ISB and all of those things we need to do.
To get the
in
reimbursement.
December.
To get the
What?
reimbursement.
Can I ask you, how soon do you have to leave? Because I was thinking maybe you guys could go, Josh handles all of that stuff for us, and he would be a good contact here. I need to I'll get you two in contact.
Okay.
Because he runs all our interference for
Okay.
that kind of stuff. And
For the state, is
for
that
the
what you're?
state requirements, yes.
Wonderful.
And I think, unless somebody objects, I think
No.
we could offer,
Now, he may not be.
I mean,
He may
it's-
not
it's
be
the
any more
US government.
successful.
Yeah, it's the.
yeah, he does the
Federal.
state and the federal, of
Okay.
course,
Okay.
so, okay?
It's worth a shot.
Yeah, it's worth a shot. He may know somebody that could, yeah.
Expedites it.
And I think Stacy probably agrees too that it is kind of a lot. I mean, they do give you a little, training here and there, but I think hopefully that our mentorship and Summer's mentorship can help, like, kind of go,
Bridge that gap.
yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
Well, you have a resource here. We don't wanna interfere, but we'd
No, I
like to
appreciate
offer
that.
that, okay? And he can go, no, you needed to, you know,
Do this,
that
this,
kind of stuff,
okay.
yeah.
How have you advertised pickup spots that kids know?
Yes,
Okay, good,
Yes.
good.
yeah, we made direct contact plus created a flyer and
Okay, good,
And-
good.
sent it out.
So based on the numbers participating, maybe up to 100 currently. Do you remember off the top of your head how many was involved in it last year?
Oh.
250,
There were multiple.
250.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
you're dropping it off at their door,
Yeah.
they're more
Right.
interested.
yeah, that's, I was gonna say, and I think you're gonna see it's one of those things that, again, just, you know, trial and error. It's gonna be, you know, these kids have had a change, they've had a change. You know, it's a different location, it's a different bus
Right.
stop. I mean, it's been 2 years, they were just, oh, I just had to sign up and it
Right.
brought to my door. And so I think that, you know, I'm very hopeful that, yeah, 10, 12, 14, that's great. I do foresee that it's going to increase.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, I think you've got our support
Yes.
on all this.
And-
we have to formally do it at the board meeting, and that's why we put it on the agenda, so
Right.
otherwise we would have had to wait a month or had a special meeting, so it's on there.
No, and you do not realize how great you guys are. That's why I keep telling people, I'm like, you don't realize how great of a county board you have until you go other places and, you know, they're not as supportive for some of these programs. And so I am just so appreciative that you guys are, recognize the need and do act on it.
If things develop and you wind up with 200, I don't know. I mean, please come back, or we may do a max of, you know, 2 counts, whatever.
Okay,
So please don't hesitate to come back
okay,
for something that you need to affect this program.
thank you.
Oh, last year we did what, 17,000 or something, so,
I think you didn't know. I think you did like 20,
I mean, the figure to
25
me
or
is
26.
not that important. I mean,
It's
long as
family
it's
stuff, I'm
supposed to-
sorry.
Text me.
Okay, when,
And these meetings are pretty casual, but
Mhm.
I need to know ahead of time in case we need to put it on the board agenda.
Board agenda, okay,
But you're always welcome to
okay,
come. You can even just tell us it's going great.
okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I hope that's all I have to report. It's going well.
All right, thank you.
Okay,
Just-
thank you.
Just, the bus service is, MS,
Yes.
MSB,
Okay.
yes.
probably loves that.
Yeah, I'm surprised, I know, I'm so surprised that they can do it for that. I mean, the way diesel is going.
Right, that's, I'm afraid they may reconfigure, and I think Lud may have volunteered to, not sure.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
he may change his mind depending on who we put on that.
Yeah.
bus, but- God's sake.
All right. Thank you.
All right, thanks for your time.
Do we need to wait for Josh, or is he just?
I can increase.
I mean, I just didn't
Josh
know.
just went
Did
in
he just
there,
walk-
it's office.
Okay, just do this, walk that way.
Just go ask him,
I just didn't.
maybe tell, and, you know,
When,
see,
when Lisa gets back in here, we'll have Jeremy, you go ahead.
Yeah.
One of those pickup places by the house, Court Street needs,
pick up places.
and then it's down by Twin Lakes.
I think, I think we got hold of Albert or Chicken, expedite some of that or no?
Not so much with the numbers, that,
But they're waiting on that.
right.
For one.
They're gonna see Josh right now.
Okay.
And then he will, I'll ask him what we should do. I would think that if you called anybody, it would probably be Chapin rather than.
That's what I'm.
Okay.
I told Jeremy when they get back in here.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jeremy, how are you? Good. I'm his mule.
I guess she's back.
Well, we need
Oh,
Dan too.
Dan. Herding cats.
Yeah,
Come on. Speaking of cats, does anybody need any experienced barn cats?
Dan does.
Don't bring it up when Dan's in the room.
I got a
Okay.
big net and a kennel.
I've got 6 kittens I need to get rid of.
Oh, we got another one, batch of kitties too, of course.
I had two, number one.
We keep one. That's all I want is one. But I will tell you, chickens will kill a mouse with vengeance. So
Chickens?
I have 6 chicken mousers and 1 cat.
Wow. Didn't know that.
Yeah, the other day a hen caught one and she was holding on to it, trying to cluck at the same time. When I let her out, and then next thing I know, there's 5 more hens chasing her. What do you have? What do you have? Life on the farm.
He's trying to get the John door open right now.
It is a little tricky in the women's restroom.
Well, never mind.
When I encounter something like that, I think it's an IQ test and I'm failing.
Jeremy, come forward and walk into the ring of fire.
Yeah. So, last month was pretty good. I don't know if you got the report or not. I got it to Augie.
Yeah.
Saturday. So.
It's in the,
No, I didn't have a chance yet. You'll have it.
okay.
You'll have it.
Wednesday.
So, but yeah, 44 calls. So we had a couple we couldn't cover because we were already busy. Horizon covered them for us. So times are staying good. So we came down and set a couple times for Horizon when they were busy on a couple days. So we just go down to Malfunction Junction, and one of those calls we actually came into Paris and covered for them. So,
Those are the 911 calls. Do you have
Right.
transfers? And
what transfers we do are back to the nursing home. So, like I said, they're usually out of Paris. So,
Did you get the issue with, was it the sidewalk outside of the ambulance building?
nope. I spray painted it yellow so people would quit tripping on it. So, the city doesn't want to do anything real fast. So,
you have brought it to their attention?
multiple times. Yep. So, yeah, the problem was the meter. It was leaking one winter, and instead of fixing it, they just crammed it full of insulation. Well, that doesn't stop the leak, so freeze and thaw, and it just broke. And now years later, it's up about yay high, and
Yeah.
good place to catch your toe. So,
And your building is good? You're in
Yep.
good shape there?
yep, we got the front remodeled, just about done. So, things are going good there. So, hopefully, people are happy with it.
I haven't heard any complaints.
Well, maybe Dan will get around to the coffee shops in the area.
He's just not
Yeah.
going to our coffee.
Yeah.
He'll pick up.
Down to Main
on it.
Street, you'll get all the information there. Yeah.
So, we're gonna come down this weekend and help Horizon out at the Derby and the concert, so we'll have 2 trucks on that night, so. But other than that, things are going well. Always use more help, we're working on that too, so,
Join the crowd.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's not unique, so.
Do you know if there's anybody from Chrisman at the high school gonna do the EMT class next semester?
They came up and talked, and I know the only way they were gonna do it is they had to go down to Paris to take the class. So I know that might have taken some out, just because like, I'm not driving to Paris, so, but, I don't know. And I know the school, they've had a lot of changes this year, a lot of people, quit, retire, or whatever, so I'm not real sure what all's transpiring there, so.
Okay, thank you, Jeremy.
Yep,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Circling back to the food program, does anybody have any thoughts about where we should be, or instead of just bringing it on each other, should we be at 6,600? Deal with something in the future, or, what do you want to do?
Well, let's,
I didn't leave it open.
I definitely think we should help them, but I think what we're at this point is a minimum.
Right,
don't you?
yeah.
I mean,
So I-
you said you had 350 last year.
250.
250.
last year.
But that's because they delivered, they had
Right,
more
right.
kids delivering, they delivered it to the house, so parents didn't have to worry about getting them on a bus or doing anything else, so. I didn't know whether you wanna do, 66 or make it 10, not to exceed
That's
10.
what I'm-
Say
or-
10.
Yeah.
I'd say 10, that's why I was saying this
I
is a
was
minimum, I think.
trying
So
not
you
to-
might, if you don't wanna come back to the trough too many times, it might not
I
hurt.
don't think you need to put a figure on it.
Authorize a little
Oh,
more.
yeah, we do have to put a
Do we have
figure,
to? Okay.
yeah. And it's, that figure, we could come back in July or August and bump it up to
Okay.
15.
Okay.
I mean,
Good.
we're not, it's not that anybody here, I don't think, wants to limit what, where our participation.
I'd say just up to 10,000 now, and
And then
then
if needed.
if you have more
we can come back and
participation,
ask, yeah.
then we can
That makes sense.
increase it.
Okay. I just want to circle around, so if anybody had any thoughts.
Hey, Russ.
Hi, Russ.
That's not a very big
Everything
number of
okay?
kids at Hopes and Dreams, but that's, ought to give them an opportunity to get it all together without having
Well,
chaos.
yeah, and I think in their defense, they got, going out, go, the state
Oh,
paper,
yeah.
we know, it takes months.
And
So,
it's kind of like hanging wallpaper. If you do it once every 8 years, you're not going to be very good at it.
Right.
You do it every
every day,
or,
every,
you know,
all the
like
time.
our own health department, if they would help, they'd write grants all the time. So, at any rate, that's another story.
Yes, it is.
Russ, we just heard from the ladies on the meal program with the kids, Hopes and Dreams.
Yes.
And they've come up with about $6,600 at this point in costs.
And some of that's, they anticipate being reimbursed once they
Right,
get their
if they
state
could get the
paperwork.
grants, they're putting in for a $5,000 grant, but they don't know whether they're gonna get it. So they would like us to be a backstop on that. We were just discussing maybe going up to reimbursable up to 10 grand just to allow them room if they do happen to get more kids in the program. It covers, let's see, bus service to get the kids there since we can't deliver their homes anymore. It includes mileage for the kids that are working, so I think they said they had 5. And then paper products, they had 2,200. So any of those areas could grow or shrink. And if we made it up to a max of 60 or 10,000 and they could only bill us for 5,000, then they just spent
Okay.
5,000. Did I represent that
Yeah.
correctly? Okay.
I assume they're gonna need some of this money pretty quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
and we can,
Okay.
but they're gonna have to submit, Amanda, submit a bill and we'll pay Hopes and Dreams directly rather than funneling it through the Douglas County Health Department. Okay, so, and we got them with Josh can they're trying to get a
Sam's number?
Sam's number from the feds, and no local politician is gonna be able
Oh,
to help
that's
us
a
with
federal
it.
number.
Yes.
So, I remember her saying that.
And he's gonna help them with that, he was out in the hallway, and he can help them with their billing to make sure that we do it right, okay? So we're offering part of our infrastructure to support them, okay?
And today's the first day of the meals.
Okay.
They're starting
From
today.
now through July 29th.
It's in motion now,
Yes.
since they're being fed.
That was at the meals.
Okay.
Carl's already gonna go for
Okay.
meetings.
Russ, do you, I did that very quickly, do you have any questions?
No, nothing I can't catch up on.
Well, and we'll be discussing it on Wednesday, so if you have any questions before then, okay? Andy?
Nothing right now. I haven't checked to see what's going on at jail lately,
Well, we're gonna check that tomorrow, I'll go over our meetings.
but, okay.
Let's see.
Last I was just, we were kinda waiting on. Jeff said he was gonna get in touch with the camera company.
Right,
And he said he could go ahead and put them in if we,
And then
if
just tape
necessary.
them up,
And
bag
tape
them
them
up.
up, paint when they, after Warburg gets done welding, so.
we did get, and, we did tell our bidders to go ahead with the courthouse. the plan, or the plans that they had and all the structural changes or the infrastructure changes to the systems. Because we were running out of time and facing a June 1st bump in all prices. So we got under that wire, and even though we told them and we were exposed a little bit, the contracts have been signed, everything's fine, and the grant went through. So we're cool. So, but,
And that's for the relocating the HVAC.
right, and replacing a couple of them which are pretty well shot. Okay? So that's, I wanted to add that to you. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to call you.
That's good.
Anything, well,
Yep.
and we're gonna have a sheriff's meeting tomorrow afternoon, so we'll talk about that in a few minutes. Dan, how's the cat situation?
13. Need some more donations.
I took some food and treats out there late last
I
week
think that pretty good. For cats or dogs?
for dogs.
Oh, cats can eat dogs.
Cats can catch
Okay.
mice.
Makes them sick. I just brought up what I had with the 2 comments for Aaron, but other than that, fine. I got a new cat coming by my house now, really friendly.
Russ, do you have anything?
I don't.
Kyle? Lisa, I'm sure you do.
I have a lot.
He's always got some.
I have a lot. So I signed up for the UCCI Leadership Series, and I spoke to a gentleman about that. So that goes on through the first part of September. And I think it has just a really good, solid agenda. I'd like to say for me, most of it will be a refresher, just on leadership and management, but it comes with a different perspective of government, so I'm looking forward to that. I spoke at the Champaign County zoning meeting, and I gave my perspective as a board member, and I shared Jeff what my talking points were going to be, and he agreed that sounded sound. And just what we had gone through, what we had learned at public hearings, what the public's main sources of concern were, and what our setback ended up being. And so this was just the zoning board. So then it goes to a land use committee, and then from the land use committee, it would go to county board. So the zoning board ended up recommending the 3250 setback. The room ended up being full, and what the area they're looking at, it was time for them to update their, it was time for them to update their ordinance or review it. And what they're looking at is an area down around Philo and south of that. And so the room was full, and there was not a speaker there that was pro.
It's hard to believe.
Yeah.
So that they recommended to the land use 3250 and the 39 decibels. And I said, well, if I need to come speak again, just let me know. So I may go speak to a land use group. And they asked a lot of questions. It was a good interactive conversation.
How about shadow flicker, was that brought up?
It was discussed. And somebody else had brought up the fact that they say that they now have the capability to shut those red blinking lights off unless there's air traffic up there.
Right.
So,
And that was in ours. I think
yes, it is in ours.
Right.
And so I'm thinking, apparently it's not in that Douglas County one
No,
because
it
they're
is
on all
not.
the time.
I know.
Right.
Yeah, and so I shared with them that, we can see them from Indiana.
Hmm.
So, and that we can hear them at 3 o'clock in the morning if conditions are right.
You can hear it?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Really?
at first we thought, because the railroad is south of our house and it loads at Dana with corn, and we thought it was hooking up at Dana, but that's not what it was.
It's the windmill.
Yep,
County away.
a county away, yeah.
What's going on with Vermillion County, Indiana? Are they still pursuing that? That one company, whatever,
Yes, they are, and they will use any means possible.
Lacey's is working.
It's,
Sorry.
well, didn't they go with kind of strict guidelines?
very,
That's what I was thinking.
but, so they are
passed
looking to
that.
see how they can get everybody kicked off the board so they can replace with people who are pro, in a nutshell.
Interesting.
It's a real interesting place to be.
Hmm.
So I went to my first, wait until he's back. There's something else on here I was gonna share with you.
Well, while he's doing, two old men going.
I'll pass this around just in case you wanna see it, and I think Janet distributes, they had had a meeting where they didn't have, as he had said, where they didn't have a quorum, but this is just, sharing with you the restaurant inspections, restaurant and food service inspections. So at this last meeting, other than John McNary, everybody was in attendance. Dr. Shake was by Zoom. And it was an interesting meeting. And Janet introduced us all as the new members. And I think there was a little tension there, but it was good. And Jeff had asked me about, in anticipation of needing to have another member added, he had asked me to speak to someone, and he spoke to someone as well about interest, and the person I spoke to was definitely interested, so it's nice to know. And that meeting was run very quickly and efficiently, and we were out by 10 till 8. And
Which meeting was that?
health department.
Can I see
And,
that?
yeah. And so in the future, they're looking at Janet handling more of the finance part and Monica going ahead and transitioning to all other responsibilities. And Monica did most of the speaking at the meeting after we got
So
done
what's
with the
Janet
fiscal.
gonna do?
I think she's gonna keep on the fiscal side.
Oh, okay, I thought you said somebody else for the fiscal side.
Mhm.
Who was the last name you just said?
Monica.
No, the one before that, you said somebody else. Never mind.
So then I just shared that I spoke with somebody about whether they would be interested, and they were.
You did, oh, yeah, that was the other reason I called you last week.
Yeah, very interested.
Okay.
Really. So I missed the HRC board meeting because it's quarterly, it was at the same time. Jonathan had sent an email asking to maybe modify usage of funds, and so I asked him to be sure and try to be at the board meeting, which he will, and that's number 9 on the agenda, so he can explain a little more about his request.
He's not requesting
Not additional
amount,
funds, just a little
do it.
change in
Right,
focus.
right.
Yeah, he told us what he was gonna use them for, and he just wants to make sure we know what he's gonna use them for.
Yeah. I think that's it for me. Oh, I had asked Augie, and he gave me a copy of Clark County's wind ordinance, because there's some language in there I liked. So I do plan on starting working on some updates to our wind ordinance. A lot on the tile. That's a big focus.
What county did you say?
Clark.
Clark.
Is that it? Do you have any
That's it.
questions of Lisa?
I don't know whether I saw, I don't know whether it was in the paper, somewhere I saw that there's another power line being proposed going through Clark County. It's gonna be in the southern part of the county, I think, like KZ on to Hudsonville maybe. But that got me thinking, I remember last time when originally it was gonna come through Edgar County, went to Clark County, and got moved
Came
back
back.
to Edgar County.
That's where the problem came in.
Right,
They approved
So
it going the one way and then.
that's just something we need to kind of keep an eye on, because, you know, I don't want it could get moved back up here again, you know, I don't know, but.
At the time I went to all of the public hearings, that's what we need to make sure we're, you know, protected, and they had a day where people could come through and file through and look at the different points of interest about the project. Of course, then after that, they modified it, so.
Right.
Right, that was where the problem.
Yeah.
They modified it, and that isn't what was,
Yeah,
So that's just something we need to kind of keep an eye on, know that there's another one being proposed in the area.
I do have something else from, Health Department, that they are installing a surveillance system, and they've been working with Ross on that.
anything else? Okay. Funds, the 1.66 million in rescue funds is due in any day, could be there now, anyway, the feds released it, and let Josh know that, it was coming our way, and of course we let Don know. State funds, it's way too early in the month, heck, we're just on the 6th right now, so I don't know whether we'll have any come in the next couple of days, but just to give you a heads up on that. We talked about the airport. Our portion of the project is done, except the fact that we need to smooth out and eliminate some of the piles of debris that were, or fill that was taken off the airport runway or the taxiway, and we'll smooth that out. The state has approved them or us being reimbursed for that. So Dirk is going to rent a machine, because we don't have a big dozer anymore, like a D6 or D7, something like that, and level that out. With particular interest, and I'm saying some of this because I already said it to you, that we do have some good topsoil and good fill material that we would allow to be smoothed out and be able to borrow it later. So we won't lose some of the good stuff. Additionally, neighbors have said that they would like a load here and a load there, and to be good neighbors, we'll entertain that issue up until the time we get it all smoothed out. Tomorrow's meeting, just to remind you, we have a building committee meeting. We're gonna start at Augie's office. I guess 2 of us can start the meeting. We'll figure out who's gonna be there, maybe Andy and I don't know, whoever.
See if I can, what time?
It's at 10 o'clock. You didn't get a notice? Because we sent it out on Thursday.
For some reason, your emails are going to spam, and I'm not catching them all.
How do you fix that, dude?
Well, that would be a
Well, we
question
have
for
a-
Ross, I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
So 10,
You got it?
10
He
o'clock.
got it, so
yeah, mine
I'm
is,
sorry. 10 o'clock,
Two meetings.
please.
Tell 'em. Oh, there's 2 meetings,
Okay.
at 10 o'clock, meeting with the architect and going to look at the Bennett site and Coke building.
oh, okay.
And then at 1:30, there's a Flat Sheriff's Committee.
Right, but I want to tell you guys,
Yeah,
any one of you is welcome
Right.
at either meeting, okay? But we wanted to make sure the public knew we were having the meetings and they were invited.
and the one at 1:30 is with the architect to talk about the jail project
Is it
Right here,
here.
here?
Yes.
right here. I'm sorry, Russ.
No, that,
I did call Carl because I wasn't sure that he would get that on time, so.
yeah.
But we sent that out on Thursday.
So you're going to follow up with Ross on that? and see what
Absolutely.
the issue is.
So both meetings are important. The sheriff, I checked with the sheriff will be available for both meetings. And of course, the guy that owns the Coke plant will be with us, so.
Okay. And
We'll talk about that in a little bit.
scheduling's all figured out. He had some
Yeah, oh, yeah,
strange scheduling.
yeah,
He thought it was one day, but it got shuffled around, so.
anyway, yes, he is. All right, ESDA disaster plan hearing is tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. Nothing you need to do, I've been going to those, but I want to let you know that we're just about ready to wrap up our disaster mitigation plan.
And it's at Farm Bureau.
Yes, at Farm Bureau at 5 o'clock. Let's see, tax bills. Augie, how are you doing on them?
Well, we're just waiting on the board of review to finish their portion of it. I think there are, well, I don't know the numbers, but they
I think
still,
they finished last week.
yeah, then there's a time period they have to
Right.
wait for
Right.
any late filers or follow-up, making decisions, what have you. So Dina was not sure, but it could be 2 weeks at least before they're done, and then we can go in. We've already started inputting levies, but we're at a standstill because we have to wait for the final valuations before we can apply the rates. So,
Yeah.
and then from there,
Don's still looking at August and October for the bills being due, unless something else happens that I'm not aware of. But the furrowed brow didn't mean that you were,
no,
Okay.
no, I just,
all right.
excuse me, no.
No, I
We're,
just wanna make
we're
sure
gonna,
I-
we're gonna shoot for early July, but it, you know, in a perfect world, we could knock it out in a week, but,
Well,
you know, once I get a hold of it.
we're still on for what Don had said.
Yes, that's the plan, yes, sir.
Other questions? Go
Can I
ahead.
ask about expenditures?
Sure.
Committee Code 31, it's a payment for those who are on jury duty.
Oh, yes.
I guess I just never, either I haven't seen it, it must be that I haven't paid attention. So do we just pay a quarter at a time to everybody who served?
I don't understand what you mean by a quarter.
Because it says October 1 to December 31st.
Yes. Well, we've got some, that's a question I need to ask, or you can ask Angie. Yes.
Jeff, I think there was an issue with updating the juror list and also the fund that they were being paid out of. And I'm not, don't hold me to that, but there was something there that created a lot of payments this go around. I think it was to reimburse a particular fund. Or they might be changing their way they're paying them, but yes, for the best answer would be for Angie. She
For this
knows it.
period for last fall.
No, I know that, and there was a delay somewhere in getting them paid, but I mean, that's just what little I've heard, there was an issue there, so,
I'll check with you.
yeah.
Another question?
Listen.
Andy? Dan? Ross? Okay. All right, remember we have the bond hearing, and that is number 4 on the agenda. We have the bonds gonna be sold in the amount of a maximum of $18 million. We still have some decisions to make on that once the 30-day period is up, and that'll be on roughly the 28th of June. The hearing is required, can't be any sooner than 7 or later than 30 to hear objections or comments on the issue itself. You see that we've got liquor license reappointing two to the Board of Review, acceptance of John McNary's position on the Board of Health, with many thanks for his service. And then reappointing Kay Fiddler, Bob Morris, and Diana Yates to the, it doesn't say, no, the 708 Board. So those are the items on the agenda. Are there any questions on them?
What's the deal with Castle Finn? Didn't he always have a license, a full license all the time?
Yeah,
Yes, and I was getting ready to explain that when you got done going over the agenda. We updated our liquor policy,
Okay.
and in that policy, now Mark drafted it, you know, he and I, we talked along the way. All the licenses are set to expire on November 30th each year. And this special event license was the only one that was out there at a different date. And so I took the opportunity to modify that, to just prorate that to November 30th.
So they're all the same?
Then they're all gonna be the same, and then they will start out for a full year that way, like all the other licenses.
so they're not gonna be paying any more, any less. They're
No
just
more,
gonna
no
just
less.
all in the same cadence.
That's right.
Okay.
That's right. It just seemed to make more sense to efficiently run that.
Okay. We need a special session on personnel, legal issues, or pending litigation, I should say, in land acquisition.
Question.
Yes, sir.
On John McNary's resignation, do you have a name to replace him?
We're gonna talk about that. All the motion to put us into exec session for the said reasons. Andy moves. Russ seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, we're gonna go into exec session and then we'll have public comment.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead, Andy. Explain.
Basically, this, if you look at the bottom left, it is every county or highway department employee. And if you look at your legend over here, the amount, like 200, that's the blue, that's the county pays that. The yellow is county motor fuel tax. The green is township motor fuel tax, and that's the portion of their salary or what they make that gets spent on, if you look at the green, on township motor fuel tax at present. And
Well, I don't understand what the difference between this one and this one, they are labeled exactly the same.
labor cost per function, labor hours, one's cost and
Oh,
one's
I-
hours.
Oh, 1 hours?
One's hours, one's cost.
Yeah, they say the same.
Well,
Oh, I see,
No.
I'm sorry. One says, I'm sorry,
one's hours and one's cost. But he says, if you'll notice, I don't think there's any of them that's more than a quarter of their salary. Maybe a little more, but he goes, and that is going down because they're spending less of the,
we're spending labor
Less.
costs at the township, right?
we're spending labor costs.
Well,
Up to the county,
yes,
yes.
okay.
But, so that green portion just is what township
So
motor
you
fuel
can
tax.
see what it's
What,
dropped.
yeah, and it's gone down and he said, and it is going down, but that's presently. Because that's somehow what they're going to see, state basically wants you to get oil from using
Being
our
involved.
personnel with county, or with township motor fuel tax.
Carl,
Does that make sense?
sort of. We
It
can
is.
talk to him about it too. I mean, maybe, I'm gonna ask him if he's gonna be at the meeting. Is there any public comment? Hearing none, are we ready to adjourn? I entertain a motion. Andy moves, Russ seconds. All those in favor of adjournment signify by saying aye. Opposed, nay. We are adjourned.